Here's the dermis. Come on, draw it. There's the dermis, epidermis, and then hypodermis down here. The very bottom. This is the hypodermis, this is the dermis, the center here, and then your very outside is your epidermis.
So when we cut our finger or something and we bleed, which layer of skin are we going with?
Epidermis into the dermis.
Well, you're going to, let's say you just make a cut like this and it goes all the way down. You can cut all the way through there. To get down here where it bleeds is where your red blood cells are. Down here in the hypodermis is more than anything else.
That's when you start to bleed.
That's when you start to bleed. The blood vessels actually kind of go up to the very bottom of the dermis, epidermis, excuse me, the top of the dermis, the epidermis, and then it goes into that area. That's about it. So you can have a very light cut that will still bleed, like a paper cut. Sometimes they bleed like crazy. They're not very deep, but they bleed a lot because they hit just nick the blood vessel just perfectly, capillary. So there's lots of things that's going on in here. We'll draw a picture of this in lab too, so we'll go through all these different things. And we're going to go through each one of these structures as we go through this chapter. Epidermis, we have some epidermis that is very soft, and others are very tough. And what makes this epidermis tougher is keratin. It's a protein that makes the cells tough and rigid, so it gives us more protection. Also inside of our epidermal cells in our skin are what they call melanocytes, and these give us the color of our skin. Whether we're dark-skinned or light-skinned, the more melanocytes, the more melanin that they produce will give us a darker skin tone. Right? So those are produced and activated by the ultraviolet light that comes in from the sun. If you go outside in the sun and you're outside all the time, your skin becomes full of melanin, or melanocytes kick in, and they make a darker skin. They give you that tan that you have. Right? Epidermal cells also have what they call dendritic cells. Dendritic cells are Langerhans cells. They were actually discovered by a gentleman by the name of Langerhans. These are cells that are macrophages. They kind of creep along, and they are responsible for starting the immune response in the human body, which is really kind of cool how the immune response stimulates lots of things to take place in the body. Not only does it affect your killing bacteria and things like this, but it also affects the blood vessels, it affects the heart rate, it affects your breathing. Everything is linked together. So as we're learning these types of things, remember that there is a connection or a link for all these different things. And then we have tactile cells, cells for touch, feel, temperature, heat. All these different things are felt in our skin. The skin is the largest organ of our body. It's 15% of our body weight. So if you would have someone and they would skin you alive, take all your skin off, you'd have a good weight loss program.
No.
Actually, no, you couldn't. Could you survive that?
No.
Could you survive getting your scalp skinned off? Think so? Okay, we'll talk about scalping in a little bit. So we have two layers of the skin, epidermis and dermis. The epidermis is the very outside layer. This is the layer that is expendable. It sloughs off and it grows very rapidly. The dermis is the tough part. This is what they make footballs out of. It's hide. Just like basketballs, footballs, baseballs, all made out of leather. Your shoes are made out of dermis, if you have leather shoes. Or if you got pleather or whatever, that's not the right stuff, right? Very tough. And hypodermis is below that. It has lots of blood vessels and storage. Sometimes our hypodermis stores a little bit too much fat, and we end up with something like this. So this is skin, right, that he's got in his hands. What happened to this guy?
Lost a lot of weight.
Lost a lot of weight. Either that or he was breathing in a lot of air and it just went out of him, one of the two, right? So what do we do for this? How can we help this guy? Cut it off. How would we do that? We just line him up, pull it out, with a big old knife.
Liposuction.
What's that?
Liposuction.
He's past liposuction. He's lost most of the fat. So we got to do something about that skin. We can excise it off. We can take it off. Tighten it up, basically. We pull it up. We make an incision below and above, and we bring the two pieces together and sew them up. Yeah, make him a new belly button and go on, right? He is to the point now where he's pulling out his breast tissue right now. He could probably use a brassiere at the same time. But this happens to people that are very heavy, that get the gastric bypass. And if you look, this looks like he's had some type of a surgery here, which I would say probably the gastric bypass surgery was taken on here. Okay, so that's just what happens when the skin stretches, and it stretches to the max of what you're going to make it. You know, the more you eat, the more your skin's going to stretch to accommodate it, to fill up that. Now, you have to remember that we have epidermis, dermis, and then the fat is below that. So if you cut somebody open, you got them on their back and you cut them open, you're going to cut through the epidermis, the dermis, and then below that you're going to see this kind of yellowish white fat layer. And sometimes it's really cool. One day when I was visiting Palmer, before I went to college there, they had a cadaver laying out wide open, belly wide open, and there was a fat layer about like this on their stomach. And I go, man, this is what I got to watch. I got to get into this so I can dissect these things. And we did. We dissected those people and took their fat out. And of course, they didn't care. They didn't really know about it. So we have several layers, and we're going to start next to the dermis and move our way outward in the epidermis. So right next to the layer called the dermis, our main layer, we have smaller layers of epidermis. The first one is called stratum basale, or the basal layer. This is one row of very mitotic stem cells. What does mitotic mean? What does mitotic mean?
Do they separate?
They reproduce. Yep, they separate. They divide. They make more cells. They're always being reproduced. This skin that you have today will not be here tomorrow. It's constantly fluctuating. It takes about 24 hours for a skin cell to mature, and it moves from the inside the basal layer outward to the outside of the skin. Next layer out is the stratum spinosum. This is called the prickly layer. When you look at it through a microscope, they look they're not smooth and nice, they're kind of prickly and rough. They lock together really well. They have lots of melanin in them that gives us the coloration of our skin, and they are hooked together by desmosomes. They are keeping us from getting things into our bodies. They're a protective layer for us. The next one, still on this one, we have the dendritic cells in there. There's about 800 cells per millimeter squared. Quite a few cells. Some mitosis, but not that much. Okay, basale is the most. Then we have less. We're starting to slow down on the reproductive of the cells. And then as we go along, we get to the stratum granulosum. This is the granular layer. This is 3 to 5 layers of little cells, and these have keratin hyaline and laminated granules. They form keratin. They're tougher. They're getting tougher and tougher as they move out. The organelles are deteriorating inside the cells. The cells are basically starting to die. When they get to the outer layer, which is coming up, there will be no life in those cells. They produce a kind of an oil that helps to make our skin waterproof. We don't take in a lot of water if we go into the bathtub. It prevents from a lot of doing that. Stratum lucidium. This is a clear layer. This is found only in thick skin. Where would thick skin be? Where would you classify thick skin?
Your foot.
Bottom of your foot,
Your heel.
your heel, your hand, right? Palm of your hand. Those are the places, fingertips, soles of your feet,
Chest.
those types of places where you have a lot of wear and tear. You're using them all the time. That's where you're going to have them. You know, how many people go around barefooted in the summertime? You go a lot around so that you can walk without going, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, ooh, ow. Yeah. When I used to go down to the Amish colonies, the little kids, when it gets warm like this, well, in April or early May, they just take their shoes off and they go without shoes because they don't want to ruin their shoes. They keep their shoes for Sunday or for their church. So when I'd work on them, they'd come in and the bottoms of their feet would just be black. Just tougher than tough, though. They look like hide, like somebody stuck on some leather on the bottom of their feet. It was so tough. But I'd watch them, and they'd run right down their driveway. All rocks, everything. They don't keep on. They just keep on going. Kind of like Tarzan, no shoes. Okay. So these are flat, dead, keratinized cells. They have keratinocytes in them, and they have no nucleus, no organelles. It's just there for protection. So when you're out raking this spring, this is the layer that you're going to build up. This is the layer that's going to protect you from getting blisters. That's kind of important. The last layer is called the stratum corneum, or horny layer, and that's not for other reasons other than they look that way, okay? They are 20 to 30 rows of flat, dead cells. This is about 3/4 of the epidermis, the very outer layer. These are cells that are sloughing off all the time. They're the ones that you find in your bed when you shake your sheets. Right? How often should you wash your sheets?
Every week.
Every week. How many people wash their sheets every week? Maybe I shouldn't ask that.
Like once a month, every Sunday.
How many people wash their sheets every semester? No. When I was in school, that was kind of what the guys would do in the dorms. They'd come in, their mom would set their bed up for them on the first day of school, and then they would take them home with them right before Christmas. And never wash them in between. Right? So that can be a bad thing. Why would that be bad?
With bed bugs.
Bed bugs? Well, they might come if they got in there. How else? What else would that be bad for you? Breathing skin in all the time? Yeah, you can develop allergies from it, right? Besides that, it's just kind of gross, rolling around in your skin all the time, like an old snake or something. But this layer helps protect us from abrasion, penetration from bacteria, viruses, parasites, keeps things out of us, right? And then waterproofs us so we don't get moisture again. Replaced every 35 to 45 days. So you're constantly sloughing off this. If you take your fingernails and scratch the back of your hand, you'll see white streaks. And you look underneath your fingernails, if you could take a swab, you'd have cells under there. Now some people go in, they do an exfoliation. What's that? Anybody ever done the exfoliation?
That's where they clean out the pores, isn't it?
Clean out the pores? They go a little even deeper than that.
Dead skin.
Yeah, they put something on and then they rip the dead skin off your face or wherever you want it. And you end up with this kind of a red, irritated skin for a day or two, and then it comes out, oh, it's so soft. Right? Those types of things. So we do things to help for beautification in some ways. But what they're doing is just taking out these outer layer of dead, ugly, mangled skin. Let the fresh ones come up to the top. It feels nice and smooth, and looks rejuvenated. Exfoliation.
Doesn't that make it easier to get sick?
Make it easier. We still got some underneath of it that'll help protect it. But yeah, you could, if you kept doing it, you get to the point where you start bleeding, and that wouldn't be good. But they're just taking the outer layers of it. Hey, Brian.
Hi. Sorry for interrupting.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
You find it?
I
Okay.
found it. Okay.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you.
Come on.
Okay, so dermis, this is the hide. We talked about strong, very flexible, not very thick. 0.6 millimeters, really thin, really. But it has two layers, papillary and reticular layers. It has lots of white blood cells and things that are forming in it. The papillary layers form the extensions, our fingerprints, the ridges in our fingerprints. You can have loops, you can have receptors in there, all sorts of different markings. Everybody's got a different fingerprint. Now, how can you do that if you're a crook? How can you make it so that you don't get detected? Burn them off? But won't that leave a scar?
Yes.
So the next time that you do something, you might not have those fingerprints, but now you'll have something with a scar on it. Okay? So your fingers would, oh, look at that scar. That must be Bubba's fingerprint because it's got a scar in the right spot. So they can still identify you, right? Best thing to do is wear gloves. That's the best way to do it. Get around it.
Make sure they're just a little tight.
Make sure they're a little tight.
Yeah, so they won't fit in court.
Oh yeah, like I can do that with any gloves. Though you just stretch your hand out and it won't go on. Yep. He's talking about O.J. Simpson in the old days. So everybody's got their own fingerprints, and you can be identified by that. Now the DNA has probably surpassed that in identification processes because it's so much more definitive. We also have what they call the reticular. This is the 80% of the dermis. These form lines. So if you bend your fingers, bend your hand, you can see little lines inside between the cells, right? These are bending lines that help fold the skin around each other. If there wasn't there, the skin would bunch up. The skin will collapse into those little lines, and then it doesn't stick up and you won't irritate it too much. Yes?
Have you ever heard of those, like, I don't know if they're necessarily true, but like, how many lines is how many kids you have? And it can, like, describe what kind of personality you have. Is that true?
That is true.
There are people that
Not
read
like the
palm
kids,
read.
but like the personality one.
They have palm readers out there. Yeah, that read it.
And it, like, it comes from the lines.
Yeah, I've never had it done. Has anybody heard that had their palm read?
Well, yeah.
Leo, what'd you find out?
Well, she told me that I'm gonna be like divorced twice and have one kid out of it. I'm gonna die young. I'm not gonna be successful financially or famous. And overall, she just bummed me out.
No doubt.
I was salty because I took a friend with me and she got a lot better stuff than me.
Well, if you get divorced twice, you're probably going to be in financial trouble anyway, because your wives are going to take all your money. So she's probably right there. So at least now you know you shouldn't do that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Sky?
I feel like if I try to avoid like that destiny, it'll like lead me to it. I don't know, like, some kind of big text.
It could be, oh no, I'm slipping into her destiny, yeah. Sky, what did you find out? Did you have yours done?
No, I didn't. I was going to when I was in New Orleans, but I got too scared.
Ah.
But doesn't it mean also that whichever way your lines go is how long you're going to live? Or
Yeah,
something?
one of them is your longevity line, and one of them, that, I don't know, there's a bunch of different ones. I think as you get older, things change too, and whether you're working with your hands, it's different. So, I don't know. I've never had it done. It'd be kind of fun just to see, what's going to happen, and then if it does come true, you should write it all down and see where it comes out, right? But those are some of the things we can do. But you find these, the dermis, the thicker part of it, the fingers, the toes, the bottom of the feet, those are where we're at. Friction ridges. These are ridges in the fingerprints to help us to grip things. That's why we have fingerprints, so we can grip things a little bit better. Not just so we can identify us. That's what the body does for it.
And isn't that why our fingers print up when we're in water, so we can grip things easier?
So what happens when you go in the water, your bathtub? Sit in the bathtub for a while. What happens to your skin? Sky. Ask a question. You raise your hand. Do you have the answer?
No, I had another question.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on to it for just a second. We'll get this one done. What happens when you get in the bathtub and you sit there too long to your fingers?
You get fruity.
So what is the pruny?
Too
Hey.
much moist, too much water.
Too much water or too little water?
Too much.
Okay, so let's go back and think about this. hypotonic, hypertonic, or isotonic. Remember that? I'm going to haunt you with that again, right? So, in those terms, tell me what happens to your fingers.
Your cells become hypotonic.
Your cells become hypertonic or hypo? I didn't hear you.
Hypo.
Hypotonic. Okay. Why?
Because your body already has water in it, the right amount of water,
Okay.
and you're sitting in water because your body's on the outside is soaking in water inside of the skin.
Okay, you're on the right track. There's another step that I'm looking for. Why is it pulling it in from the outside of your bathtub into your skin? What is the actual process? Think solute versus solvent.
Yeah, because we probably. Wait, which one's which? Is solute is the
Hard stuff.
hard stuff. So we have more solute in our body than is in water,
Right,
like the water we're laying in.
right,
So it's trying to go from high to low.
right. It's trying to balance the amount of water from the outside of the body, outside the cell, to the inside of the cell. So you're right. We're hypotonic. So the water is going to move from outside to inside, from areas of high concentration of water to areas of lower concentration of water. Okay? Does everybody understand that? So you get puffy. Some people think, oh, I get wrinkly and then I dehydrated or something. I don't know what it is, but it's actually your skin is puffing up. Yes, Guy?
Are you like basically floating your skin?
Flooding your skin? Only to a point, because it will only allow enough water in to do that. The rest of it's going to be blocked by the dermis. So you're only below the dermis. The hypodermis has got a lot of fat in it, so it's going to repel water the rest of the way. It won't even go in that far. So you can't lay there and get so fat that you couldn't get out of the tub. Your body won't let you do it. No. Nope, you're just getting a little bit of water, and it leaves, by the time you get your towel and you suck up that excess water, it goes back the other way, and you lose the water in your, so it doesn't take long for it to go away. Cleavage lines, we talked about that in your hands, your elbows, knees, so the skin bends properly. It's not bunching on top of each other. And then sometimes people can, just by manipulating their skin, they can get these cleavage lines. If you look at this guy's forehead, he's got wrinkles clear across his forehead, right? These are areas where there's muscle contractions and it causes these lines. Now, if you take Botox and shoot it in those areas, they would be nice and smooth because the muscle isn't contracting. Yes?
Okay, that's kind of sounds stupid, but what is like, what, when they get Botox, what really, I know what it is, but like, what's been put into you that literally makes it not move? I don't understand.
It's a toxin. It's called Botox. It's a toxin from a botulinum clostridium bacterium, and what it does is it goes in and paralyzes those muscles so that they can't contract.
So they be paralyzed for like your life?
No, it goes away eventually. Most people.
Is that the bacteria from canned food?
Yep, same stuff. Yep. So if you don't can your peaches properly, you'll get this. Produces this gas, and it's got botulism in it, and it can kill you. Yeah.
Is it the same as if you get a lip injection?
Do what? I can't hear you.
Is it the same as if you get a lip injection?
A lip injection? No, that's usually fat. They take fats from somewhere else in your body and they stick it in your lip and make you puff your lips. Yeah, I'll show you some of those. I got a picture of those coming up, I think. All right.
So they're just like, just took some fat out of your stomach and put it right on your lips.
Or your butt or wherever, yeah.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Stretch marks. Okay, the dermis gets stretchy. If you gain a lot of weight, remember your fat is underneath the dermis. So if you gain a lot of fat, the dermis is going to stretch over the top of it, and so will the epidermis. When it stretches so far, the dermis and epidermis tear, and you get these stretch marks.
Isn't that the same with muscle too?
Muscle won't tear that way.
No, I mean like it'll like if you grow a bunch of muscle.
Oh yes,
really
if your muscles
fast,
get
you're
big
still-
fast, they'll still give you stretch marks. Yep, exactly right. A lot of people don't get it when they're pregnant. They'll get stretch marks on their tummy and breast tissue because they get large also when you're pregnant. Bodybuilders get stretch marks sometimes. So So just if you gain too much weight, if you really pig out, you can get stretch marks, but it takes a while to do that. Tattoos are also found inside the dermis. How many people have tattoos? How many have 2 tattoos? 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6. Okay. I've had somebody over 13 before. I had one girl in here. She was a tattoo. She worked in a tattoo parlor, and she said she had pierced and tattooed every part of the body. Yes, she said every part of the body. I'll show you some tattoos that you're not going to believe. Also, blisters are formed inside your dermis. When you go out raking, the blister forms between the epidermis and the dermis, and it is there to protect you. If you get a blister, don't pop it. Let it go. It'll pop itself, but it's a protective mechanism so that you don't keep frictioning, is that a word? Producing friction on that sore area. Okay?
So it's like what calluses are too.
Yep, calluses are just the wear and tear over time. Blisters are more really fast.
Calluses are like hairs, right? Yeah, they're hard.
What's that? Calluses are very hard cells, right? Just the body puts on more and more layers to protect you. Now, some people do things for beautification.
What is that?
These are scars. They actually,
Do it for, like, they pierce your body too, for like your culture?
yes. And a lot of times these are just like little cuts. They make little cuts, and then the body racks and makes what they call keloids, or little bumps, and then they use them for beautification.
Don't
This
they
is-
have to do it more than once though to get them that for now?
Yeah. What's that?
Are those, I think, implanted, or is it actually just because of the cuts?
Cuts. Yeah. They just little cuts. And you can see if you look on these, you probably can't get it that close here, but there's like a little groove on the top of each one of them where the cut was. So they make it irritated, the skin reacts, and puts on more cells. Then some people do this. They're branded, right?
Why do people do it for fun?
They take a hot, really red hot poker and sounds like a good Friday night, right?
So you're just hurting.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, who does he belong to? Because usually when you do a tattoo, you're tattooing your dog or your cow or whatever, and you can identify him. So evidently this guy's being identified. Tattoos have been around for thousands of years. People have been doing body modification, purification, different things like this. Some do it for religious beliefs. Some people just do it because they like 6 tattoos. You know? You have 8?
I had a counter in my head.
All right. This get more interesting all the time. But some of these, just imagine getting these tattoos in certain really tender areas of the body. Where's the worst tattoo you had? Where at?
My foot.
Foot. They always say it's foot. Rib cage.
I forgot. I have two.
People get them on like their lips.
Need the tattoo artist when he was giving me mine, so he ended up doing a line lower. So technically it's 2. Yeah, because I forgot where I was, because like I kind of spaced out, and then like I moved, and he was like,
You need him.
yeah.
So.
So mad.
So I got 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah. Not good. So the things with tattoos, and this is the biggest worry, the biggest thing I warn my students about is if you're going to get a tattoo, make sure that you like it for the rest of your life.
Unless you want one of those lasers.
Because it costs a lot of money to get rid of them. And they will fade over time, and you'll have to get them refreshed. You'll have to get the color brought back into them. If you ever look at an old guy like Grandpa, your grandpa has a tattoo of a pinup girl on his arm or something, It looks like by the time he's 80, it's a blob. There's no pinup girl left, it's just blob. Right? We had a girl one time in my night class. We were talking about tattoos, and we were taking a break, and she was talking to some of her friends, and she said, my parents are going to take my daughter this week, so I'm going to go to get a tattoo. And I said, oh, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? She says, I'm going to get a Black Panther, and I'm going to put it right here on her chest. And I thought, well, you know, that might be impressive, something that you want to look at now, but if you're going to get married, if you wear some type of a low-cut dress or something, it's not going to be real attractive. And then when you get to be 60, it won't exactly be there. It'll be maybe a little bit lower, you know. Yeah, so I didn't say anything, and she came back the next week, and she had one. Of course, I didn't ask her to see it either, but make sure that you position it where it's not going to be seen. If you go to the University of Iowa to be a medical doctor and you have piercings or tattoos other than in your ear, you will not get accepted. Do you think that's fair?
No.
But what happens if you have a 92-year-old woman in the bed, and in comes this intern, and he's got piercings all over his face, and he's got on his neck, live or die, and then a skull right here in his front of his throat. That's the devil. You know, that's the Grim Reapers come to visit her, right? Not for those old people that has it. They need to die. And you know. So position. I'm serious. Even though that this is a progressive society, there are still people that will judge you because of the way you look, as far as your tattoos. I had that one girl. She had a kind of a gothic tattoo all the way to her fingers. She hated it because every time she went to an interview, they would see that tattoo. She could not cover it up, and it was going to cost her like $17,000 to have it removed up her arm. Crazy. So she regretted it because of that. Put it where the sun don't shine, and you'll be all right.
Oh my God, what?
This is the guy that I send out if you've missed too many classes. This is the guy I send out to get you at home. So keep that in mind. He may come into your door if you haven't been here.
Wait, what are those like horns? Not like the piercings, but the horns on his.
Sky, do you have a comment? And then we'll go over this.
How do people, like when they get like a piercing, I've seen like gauge, or gauge,
Yep.
in their cheek or something?
Hang on. I got some pictures to show you. So hold on. Let's talk about this guy. So he's got a lot of he's got gauging in his ears. By the way, gauges don't go away if you have them in your ears. You have to have them surgically fixed. Some people say, well, they'll shrink back up and close up. No, they won't do that. He's got a gauging under here, his lip, and on each side of his nose. He can stick his finger inside of his nose from the side. Right? He's got these little studs underneath. He's got plastic little bumps underneath his head, and the studs inside of his skull pointing out for those metal things.
How do you like sleep?
How do you get a
On
job?
your back?
How do you get a job? There you go. How do you get a job? He's probably some gangster that goes and beats people up for money. I don't know.
How is that even like healthy for your skull?
Can that like kill you?
Can he kill you? Probably.
No.
He don't care.
Can that kill you? Like putting that stuff in your skull.
You can get infections, you betcha. Anytime you do any type of tattooing or piercings in the head, like your tongue is one of the worst piercings you can ever do. Don't ever get a tongue piercing.
Or like people who get them on their lips. What about, is that bad too?
It can be, because it can go right into the system and right up to the brain.
Or there's like piercings under the tongue. What's it called?
I got one of those I'll show you too. How about this guy? How would you like to wake up when you're 70 years old and have this looking back at you in the mirror? Yep. It says tattoo underneath his neck. So he's hardcore.
It's like, where's his mouth? It's so like.
Yeah, how do you find his mouth, right? But you got this little ring so he can lead him around by the ring in his nose too. Pretty awesome. Right? Yep. And this guy's on the extremes where he's not only tattooed, but he's pierced everywhere.
Where is his skin? Is that from all the tattooing that looks like leathery?
I think he's got some paint on the very top of it, but yeah, that's,
Like under his eyes.
yep. There's some paint there, I think. I hope. But yeah, lots of piercings. That's got to hurt to get that done, right? And just hanging them on. How would you lay on your face?
Wouldn't that be heavy?
I would think so.
And like, what if someone were to like punch you?
How do you wash your face?
Evidently, he does it too often.
He washes his blade.
He has to use silver polish. No tooth polish. He just uses silver polish.
Oh, what?
This guy's got his grill, right? Now, all you ladies think this is pretty awesome, I'm sure, right?
There's one tooth in the middle of his head.
He's got a little bit of anger management problems, I think, or something.
It looks like he only has one of his front teeth. His teeth look like they're not right. Yeah,
And it's only on half of his face. So I guess if he sleeps on that side, nobody know it. Right? Pretty impressive. That's a lot of work. Those of you that have had tattoos, it takes a long time to do a tattoo well, and he's got it all over. You know. Here's some other people that have gotten some weird tattoos, you know, like the guy down here that's got the bullet wounds in his chest. Imagine if you were an EMT and you come in and open up this guy's shirt and you go, "Oh my gosh, look at these holes," you know. I think he's dying.
That guy in the corner is not too bad. Like if he just wears like a button-up shirt, would be.
Yeah, I mean, he's put it so he can hide it and get away with it, right? He's smart that way. Then when he wants to go to the beach, he just peels it off and impresses on everybody.
Looks
Whatever.
like that other guy got the rest of his tattoo.
This guy here, this guy's like a businessman. I mean, how would you feel about doing business with a guy like this? Could you take him serious? You know,
He probably runs the circus or something.
maybe he might be the CEO of Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory now. I don't know. Yes.
So if you have that many tattoos on your chest or wherever, do you still get tan?
What happens is they fade. They will lose their color by going outside. So you have to keep them pretty much covered. So tattoos are kind of weird. You know, you want to show them off, but if you do, you go out in the sun, they fade, and then you can't see them.
Can't you put like this? I got this like tattoo, like sunscreen type thing.
Yeah, it's
Does that like help?
it'll help you some, yeah. But eventually, over time, the body reacts and tries to tear it apart. But it can't take it all out, but it makes it blurry and blobby. More kind of interesting. This guy down here is actually he's trying to turn into a tiger. He's filed his teeth. He's got in his upper lip. He's got these whiskers coming through. Kind of a weird dude, but there he is, a little bit bigger. Those are permanent, so every time he washes his face, he has to go around his little plastic lips. Piercing the skin. When you pierce the skin, you're going through the cartilage. Mostly you go through cartilage, or you can go through skin. But like if their ears, this is all cartilage, right? Some people pierce their noses. But it's easier to pierce it through the cartilage because it doesn't have as many nerves in it as some other parts of your skin. Yes?
Okay, have you seen a guy with like, he like got his tongue out?
Yep.
Halfway down his-
Yep, the reptile.
How do you like still taste things, or like how do you even have feeling in your tongue?
Depends on if he cut the nerve. If he didn't cut the nerve, he still has the same. It's just two parts of it now. Yeah.
Would it affect your speech, wouldn't it?
That's what-
Yeah, it could make your speech a little bit goofy, yeah.
That'd be weird to make out with him.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I'm just saying, like, I mean, it's like, no, I'm just saying, like, imagine his girlfriend, like, that'd be so.
Yeah. Yeah. He might be very popular. I don't know. You know, it's just one of those things. So let me show you some more. While we're on we're on tattoos, I got to show you this video. So you'll like this one.
Have you ever known someone to get those old-fashioned tattoos where they like take wood and like beat it into them?
Those are like Samoans.
Yeah.
What?
Sleep with the apple?
an artificial fingernail.
Give us a lot of size.
This one, Mr. Lang does not like this
I was
one.
gonna say that, there's probably Mr.
Cheetah.
Hey,
I am, like this. Amson, awesome, without the E. Somebody didn't know how to spell awesome, right? Sorry about the bad words. That's a belly button. Now this one wouldn't be so bad because you could grow hair over the top of it, cover it up, right? But yeah, I think it'd be hard. That would be painful because the skull is so close to the top of that. OMFG. Okay, so interesting. That's kind of spooky, right?
Yeah, like
It'd be like the most painful place to get a tattoo.
Yep, you're walking down the street and you see this guy coming at you, you think he's walking towards you instead of away from you.
it depends on like everybody's tolerance.
There's that guy again, a little better color, all sorts of different things, going on with this guy.
Oh.
Now, this guy's a checkerboard. What are you going to do in life with a checkerboard on your face? Lay down and have people play checkers on you in the park?
That might be kind of hard.
Look at his arms and his hands, clear down to his fingertips. They're all tattooed, all black and white.
Tattoo artists even agree to some of this stuff.
Money?
they're getting paid.
There he is.
That's the guy.
Yep, that's the guy. I told you I had him. Yeah,
He even shaved his teeth.
he's gone farther than this now. He looks almost reptilian. He's got bumps all over him, scales that are more defined.
Do you have a picture of what he looks like now?
I do not know. Not in this one. Now, some people have been doing tattoos to get paid for it. They put tattoos on their body for money. And it would take a lot for me to put Hardee's on my forehead or something. Right?
Yeah.
This guy's kind of a little reptilian, I guess you'd call him. But look at his ears, how much gauge they are, and all the tattoos that he has. I just suspect this person lives in the house somewhere in a basement and just kind of
One of those.
creeps out. Another advertisement, Popeye's chicken, good. All right, so this guy is kind of interesting. I think most of these tattoos came about from being in the prison.
The swastikas are a little
It's got fun.
Do you see right?
Does that mean that?
white supremacy.
Property of whoever this is.
I don't know.
Valeria or somebody. Valeria? I don't know.
Is that like his prison dad?
That's his prison, whatever you want to say. Yep. Skinhead, mouth, around his mouth it says fun.
That's disgusting.
I think, he's been in prison for a while. His ears are tattooed. They do this in the cells, and they're not supposed to, but they can find somehow to do it, I guess. There's Mr. Tiger again.
What possesses people to do this?
Again, don't ever do your tongue. There's the guy that would come in and the little old ladies would say, oh my gosh, it's the Grim Reaper, right? Because he's got this kind of a gruesome thing on his neck. All right, so look at this guy. You talked about piercings, Megan. This is your ears at the max. He can take his coffee with him in his earlobes. He's also got his lower lip gauged. And he's got the studs around his eyes. Pretty impressive.
That is absolutely disgusting.
Pretty impressive. Takes dedication. Worst tattoo ever, right? You don't want that one. And this guy has done a lot of work. He's like almost an anatomical skeleton. He's really got things together. Look at his back.
Oh, I read about him. He started when he was diagnosed with like cancer.
Yep.
And it was pretty serious. So he was like,
Figured he probably wouldn't live much longer, but this is what happens. So, all right. I thought maybe you'd like to see some of those. Couple pictures of piercings. This is a ritual, a religious ritual. They try to prove how dedicated they are, and they stick these big long knives through their, and they have to leave them there for a period of time.
Yeah, and then I watched a video on this in one of my classes before, and if like you would flinch or something, they won't do it because this is how you prove you're a man, right?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass. I'm not that much manly.
I'll be a little kid forever.
How about this guy here? You got a lot. Look at his ears. I think they just start sagging after a while.
airport was such.
Some people use art garbage as ornaments. It's a CD. All right, hypodermis. We got 2 minutes. I'm going to go through a couple more things. Hypodermis, mostly fat, lots of blood vessels, gives us some shape to our bodies, it keeps us warm, it protects us from cold, or actually keeps us cool in some cases too. And this is where we do our hypodermic injections. This is where we get our shots. They shoot it right through into this area where the blood vessels are, so it can be absorbed very quickly and go into the body. If you don't get it past that, you're not going to get it. Yes? Guy.
I'll ask you.
Okay. So these are the shots. And everybody's had shots before, and they just feel wonderful, right?
No.
They tickle?
They hurt. I just had my first shot in like 5 years, and I got down.
When I was a kid, they used to come to school and give us shots. So my name was always the first one, so I was always the first one in line. So I would go in there and I'd get my shot, and then they were all lined up in the hallway, and I'd come back, oh man, I was just, and everybody was freaking out by the time I got to the bottom. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Whoa! And they paid them back for me making me be first. Okay, so we'll talk about skin color when we come back on Friday. Make sure everybody's here Friday. You don't want to miss any of these cool pictures.
So I won't be here on Friday. So how far do I need to get in PowerPoint?
Probably another
People?
Are we turning in our questions too right here?
Yep.
Okay, and why does it hurt when you get a shot? Like, what is it?
Why does it hurt or why doesn't it
Your
hurt?
muscle.
Why
I
does
kept answering my questions in class, so I had to come up with like 5 different new ones.
When they give you a shot, they're going through remember that first thing I said, there are so many nerve fibers in that little bit of skin? It's going through that.
Oh, that's what I thought, but
If you could miss it and not go hit the nerve
and
endings,
it won't hurt as bad.
you wouldn't hurt at
Oh,
all.
mine hurt so bad. I got that like this prevent cervical cancer.
Mhm.
It's like a
Cortisol.
3-shot process, and I got my first shot just like 2 weeks ago. I seriously about died. It hurt so bad.
Is it?
And I haven't had a shot in years.
My mom, she's a nurse, and she doesn't like us like putting stuff in our body that we don't really like.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know. She's weird, but that's why I don't really get shots like the flu shots.
I don't get the flu
And
shot.
I've never had the flu.
Oh, I had the
But
flu
like,
this
is
year.
it bad that you don't get that stuff, or?
No, it's not bad if you don't get it. I mean, the only thing is trying to prevent you from getting sick. That's the only thing it is. Some of the things, you get too much of it, it can make you toxic too. I mean,
Yeah.
You can get problems, and sometimes people say, well, if I get the flu shot, I get sick afterwards. Well, that's just because you're really not sick. It's just your body acts like it's sick.
Yeah.
But no, you can, I'd be more concerned about things like putting tattoos, piercings in different places. They say you're not supposed to you're not supposed to pierce your belly button because there's so many acupuncture points in there you can mess up your body. Or if you put a tattoo in your ear and it hits the wrong spot, that's an acupuncture point in your ear.
That's scary. I have my belly button pierced.
So do I, and they like mine's soup. I like can easily like go down it and then like
Mine gets caught all the time.
it gets caught.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. If you ever, like if you're riding a horse or something and fall off, it'll rip it right off you.
See, that's why I
You almost
was a
need to put 'em-
softball player for a while, and I've had my belly button pierced since I was 15. And I used to dive all the time. Mom's like, you need to start taking that out, or it's gonna rip out because I always like head slide.
Yeah.
And she's like, you need to start taking that out.
Yeah, you gotta take it out, and then sometimes it's hard to get back in, or you have to cover it with
I
sometimes
know
a
someone,
Band-Aid.
well, I don't know her, but she was pregnant and she had her belly button ring and she didn't take it out, and now her belly button's like all messed up because she was pregnant while she had her belly button.
Yeah, that would hurt too, just the stretching would
Yeah.
pull
Yeah.
it apart. I mean, that's just nasty. But she probably figured if I take it out, it'll heal shut, and I won't be able to get it back in.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be not a bad idea.
Alright, see you on.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
What lab do we need tomorrow?
Oh, the skin lab.
Skin lab?
Called integumentary or skin lab. Yep.
Okay.
But you didn't go get my cookies in between our break?
Do it. Do it, Stone Cold.
That guy's still a wrestler, right?
No, he's probably super old by now. Or whatever.
He's still wrestling, actually.
Is he?
I saw something like
That guy would be.
They said Hulk Hogan's coming back.
oh, jeez.
63 years old.
I need to make some money.
Yeah, he's probably broke. That's probably right. I think he left his wife and she took it all.
Yeah, it was years
But he
ago.
sued
And
those
then he
people
had
for
a-
the video.
The lawyer probably